Good morning, everyone. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Cynthia, and I will be your MC today. It's great to see so many of you here at our monthly Remembrance Service. Thank you for being here. And also, thank you to those of you watching our service online. We will begin with the ringing of the kansho, or the temple bell, which signifies the start of our service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition and is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma, or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, and guests of the Windward Buddhist Temple. Please sit quietly as the bell is being rung. We will now have meditation, which will be followed by the Vandana and Ti-Sarana in both the Pali and English languages. This can be found in your red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 7. Please stand. Please be seated. Reverend Sumikawa will now chant the Sambujo found in your red Shinshu service book on page 9.
Fortunate are we who, upon having heard the divine truth and having been given everlasting life, may leave this human existence in peace and tranquility, be surrounded in Amida's infinite wisdom and inconceivable compassion. We honor with deep gratitude the members, families, friends, and pets of the Windward Buddhist Temple who have passed away in the month of April. With deepest gratitude to the boundless, inconceivable blessings of Amida Buddha, who take eternal refuge in the three treasures of this teaching. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida.
We will now begin the remembrance of those individuals and pets who have passed away this month of any year. Reverend Sumikawa will hit the gong several times to begin this portion of the service. The name of the deceased will then be announced. Please proceed to the altar at that time to offer incense. Once you have offered your incense, Reverend Sumikawa will hit the gong again for the next name. Once the last name is called and incense is offered, he will hit the gong several times, then go directly into the Sutra, Juseige, found in your red service book on page 54. Harumi and Kiyomi Yamamoto. Mike Keys. Seisho Yonamine. Himo Ikuta, Carol Kawahara, Pedro Tuzan, Mitsue Inaba, Tomo Yanagisawa. Shizuko Kanda.
세부조쇼가 다시조붓노 요쇼조지뽀 급요미쇼몽 세부조쇼가 리오부징쇼는 요에슈몽요 지금은 요도 이쇼텐능시 진리기엔나이고 부쇼무사이노 쇼조상금요 고사이슈야근왕 가이히지행행 메시공모왕 에이소그쇼아그노 스단센슈몽 고소조만소 이요로지뽀 니지간 셔저키 덴코옹풍행 이슈가이호도 오세그도그호 요나이슈주 세포시시그 그요이사이브 그속슈도그홍 감매신료만 도쿠이상하여 요분무게시 스단미부쇼 남나그에리 도시사이쇼송 시간약고가 날세고간도 오그쇼텐닝 도생묘켄
Please rise and turn to your red service book, page 4, for Creed number 2. casting off the self-power mind of the varied practices and disciplines, we entrust ourselves single-mindedly to Amida Tathagata to save us in regard to the one great matter of birth. With one thought moment of entrusting, we know that we are saved and that our birth is settled. After this, we say the name in joy and gratitude, repaying the Buddha's graciousness. We acknowledge gratefully that we are able to hear and understand this teaching because of the benevolence of our Master having appeared in this world and of the successors in the transmission, the good teachers whose words were not shallow. Beyond this, we will observe the established rules of conduct throughout our lives. Namo Amida Butsu. Please remain standing. Turn to your brown Praises of the Buddha book, page 16, for the Gatha at our altar. Thank you. Please be seated. Today's Dharma Talk will be given by one of our board members, Joy Nishida.
Hello, everyone. So if I seem a little more tired than normal, I'm a little preoccupied. I was with John at the hospital till about 3 a.m., so kind of tired. When you're asked, how are you? What do you normally say? Do you say, I'm fine, thank you? Or I'm having a great day? Or are you like me and your default lame response is like, I'm okay, kind of busy, lots of meetings, pretty tired, I can't wait for the weekend. I guess that's a worker response, not non-retired response, but like it's pretty boring and typical, right? And I think for me, the problem is that when someone asks me that question, I'm so like in my brain in that moment. I'm so focused on, are you asking about me now or besides now? You know, and I bet like when you ask other people that, you're not necessarily asking maybe in that moment, but you're wondering in general, how are they doing? How are they feeling? You know, how are their friends? How are their family? How is their situation? For me, I forget that sometimes, even if in the moment I'm not feeling good, that I was happy maybe a moment before, I will be happy a moment later. And so I kind of get stuck sometimes in that mindset. And I think the problem is that in any given moment, we don't always give ourselves the time to reflect, or we don't have time because you're walking past them and they say, "How are you?" And you're like, "Oh," and you're already 10 feet away from each other. But you don't get that moment to reflect and really get to see the bigger picture, and to see that not every moment needs to be about just getting through the work week, which is how I feel constantly during the school year. I find myself, like, often, as you know, so bogged down with like normal life things, like family members in the hospital, students failing, endless grading, endless meetings, and so on. And so even though, as those of you who are speakers know, that it's a lot of work to prepare a talk and everything, I'm grateful for these kind of opportunities, because it forces me to reflect, and I think everyone needs that opportunity to reflect and remember and appreciate. I did a lot of thinking last night too, as we sat there for about 6 hours in the ER. So Buddhism reminds us of the causes and conditions that make every day a special day, because any day could be our last day. Even here at the temple, have we taken the time to reflect on how we all got here to this very moment? I'll tell you, last night and this morning, I surely reflected hard on how the heck I got to this podium today. Shirley asked me. I couldn't say no. Just kidding, although that's the truth. The summary is, actually, it's really thanks to all of you wonderful people, my Sangha, my family. But I'm going to go through I always like to show you guys pictures, so let me explain from the beginning. Sorry, it's kind of dark. This is my family. I think a lot of you, the newer folks, haven't met my dad, Richard. He was a longtime member too, and my sister, Tammy. This is actually at the old temple upstairs. I think this was her like a graduation service, and that's me. And so, as you know, I grew up here. In fact, I've mentioned this before, but my mother was pregnant with me when she was president, temple president, so maybe by default I was president when I was 0-year-old. So I was starting my training kind of early. But both my parents were very active at the temple and district and state level, at least from what I hear. And I really enjoyed, like, when I have really early memories of when I was even shorter than the pew, just being under the pew, sitting under the pews, like crawling around, and I'm sure they didn't really like that, but I can still remember like how the carpet felt on my hands and my knees. And this is probably under the age of 5. But because I felt comfortable here, and I think a lot of our young ones that come here, we hope that they feel comfortable in the temple too, like I did. It really felt like a family and like another home. As I got a little bit older, and I'm going the wrong direction. As I got older in elementary school, I remember ministers before her, but the first minister I really have like lots of memories of is Reverend Sandy, who's spoken here before. I don't have a picture of it, but I can still see her pink robes. I'd never seen a minister with pink robes before, and I don't know if that's why I have this lifelong obsession with pink. But and she, like, I can see her smile, and she was so good with kids and really just inviting. And I think when I look back, like, that was really the first time I started to have this bond with a minister. That is a theme that has continued, like, through my involvement with Junior YBA and with the kids that I mentor and with the ministers that I work with as an advisor, because I really think that bond is so important. And, I don't remember the order of things. When you're a kid, things just happen. I don't know the time order of it. But there was a little choir here, a little children's choir, back when there were a few more than half a dozen kids. Around the same time, I think I was involved with the choir at the Betsu-in, and there was also in 1989 a centennial statewide children's choir. There were, I think, over 100 children. It was really a wonderful experience. And so there was this, at this temple, it helped cultivate this love of music, singing, and I don't remember, I think around second or third grade, and of course the relatively older folks here will remember, I probably started playing piano around then, and I was probably really bad. My mom would send me to lessons with a Gatha book. The book I use is labeled with her handwriting, and that was in the second grade when she labeled it, and so I don't think I enjoyed it very much. I remember crying at the first couple lessons. Why am I doing this? And thank you to the members who were around back then that listened to me learn these gathas when I was in the second, third, or fourth grade or whatever. But thanks to you, I still play. And when I went on to, I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but I went on to Betsu-in for a little while, and I was able to continue playing there. So I'm grateful that while I started off here when I was young, it really inspired me to continue this lifelong thing with music. I love, as you know, I love music. Here's some of my random pictures that I found. Wrong direction. Okay, nope. I'm fired, Ryan. Sorry. Oh, that's right. I don't have any pictures. So, and I don't have any pictures of high school time. I really tried hard to find, but so I had hoped Reverend Barbara would be here, although I did warn her I was going to say it, but around 95, 96, I was around 8th grade or so, and I don't remember going to church a lot. I think I was playing soccer, but Barbara was a Dharma school teacher at the Betsu-in, and she called us and asked if we would come out and if I could join her Dharma school class. And so we did. So I remember regularly attending Betsu-in, and I was Reverend Barbara and Reverend Marutani, and there were some other people that I met, the Nakamotos then. They kind of changed them out, but it was a interesting class, and it was just nice to be with other high schoolers. I think we didn't have too many high schoolers here at that point. And so, we were going through high school things, and it was nice to talk with other young adults, facilitated by, Reverend Barbara and the other teachers. And so my parents, growing up, they took us to church, my sister and I. And then when we reached this whatever age of decision making, they said, it's really up to you. What do you want to do? What would fulfill you? My sister went a different direction that fulfilled her. But for me, I think being with these other young Buddhists and having these experiences really helped to solidify what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Although I knew and I listened to my parents, Buddhism is a lifelong journey. The wisest people we know are usually the oldest people we know because they've experienced everything. So I was lucky that I was advised by good people very early on. And I mentioned earlier, but at Betsu-in, I had this privilege of being part of the organist team, and so I got to actually play on an organ, which is, if you've never played on it as a pianist, it's really a great experience. And, it's challenging because you got to also do the foot pedals at the same time. So that's why when I play, you guys sometimes hear me turn on the organ. It's kind of an organ. I used to have an organ setting because for me it's nostalgia, and I think about growing up in a temple where, we used to always have organ. When I was in high school and I got involved with Junior Young Buddhist Association, YBA, actually my advisor was Lisa, and full circle, I took over after her in 2004, and then now I'm her kids' advisors. So when Lisa hears this recording later, And her brother-in-law, Reverend Reynolds, who grew up here at this temple, Fujikawa, he was, I think my senior or junior year, our minister advisor. He was at that point a Honganji minister. And he was a Kailua grad, so every time he spoke at any junior YBA event or church, he'd always like throw in a Kailua crack because I'm a Castle grad. So there's this healthy rivalry. But I have these memories of being at YBA events. And by the way, he's a math major. So he was helping me with my AP calculus at YBA events. You know, just these, again, these connections with ministers, wonderful connections that I had, you know, growing up. I also had the privilege of starting more leadership training at this age. I was selected to be part of this core committee. It was all adults from around the state and 2 youths, me and this young woman from Hilo. And it was led by Lois Yasui and Alton Miyamoto. And it was great. They taught us facilitative leadership. We traveled around to different temples. We led discussions on how we can improve Honganji, which is, of course, a discussion that has been going on for, you know, probably 50 years or so, and will keep going on. But it was, you know, getting to know these leaders, like the 2 I mentioned, Stanley Okamoto from Maui, Fred Nonaka from Kamuela, Piper Toyama, Kuki. You know, growing up with all of these leaders is really inspiring for me. I hope one day I can be just like them. When I went on to college, fortunately San Jose Betsuin was nearby, so I visited. I rollerbladed there because I didn't have a car. Thanks, Mom. And I didn't tell her how scary it was, by the way, rollerblading over the freeway. So anyway, the second minister was a man named Reverend Gerald Sakamoto, and our long-timers will know the Sakamoto family. And so that's the brother of the dad. And so I saw some resemblance. I went up and asked him, and it turns out he's from Kailua. So same family. So for me, it was automatically, I felt really comfortable, even though San Jose Betsuin, as many temples on the mainland is huge. There's over 100 people at the service at that point. The high school Dharma school class had over 30, just high school. I helped in the 8th grade class, and that only had 25, just 8th graders. So you can kind of get a sense of the size. And I know I have my cousins, Uncle Dennis and Auntie Merle's daughter, I think, also is a teacher at Sacramento, so you know they know what big sanghas look like. And so I got to experience like what it's like to be at a Betsuin. I had been at Hawaii Betsuin, and of course I grew up here, so I felt grateful that I got to experience different, I don't know what to call it, but church environments, church, you know, sizes, and I got to kind of feel out, like as I was growing up, where do I want to go? Where do I want to get involved and be active when I'm independent on my own? And I think after having all those experiences, I realized I was happier at a smaller sangha like Kailua, although we're kind of a medium sangha now. And so I was happy that when I came back from college, you folks welcomed me back. I was a little sad that I ditched Mom at Betsuin, but she was really happy with the choir there, and I didn't want to take her away from that. So that's why I've been back. Since when I got back, I was really fortunate because the women in the Buddhist Women's Association, or Fujinkai as it was called before, you know, they poached me really quickly. And but they were really nice and gentle about it, and so they knew I was like early 20s, super crazy schedule, you know how it is. And so they would just call me and text me and email me all the time, and half the time I'd say no, but sometimes I'd say yes, right? And so I'm really grateful that they committed, like they were really committed to me to keep me engaged. And I think I try to turn that around now when I work with the youth. That I know that their schedules are busy, but if I just keep asking, maybe they'll say yes, right? So, because I need more young people to help me in the future. So these are some of our past leaders. You know, the BWA is such an awesome organization. We retired it here at our temple because so many of our awesome women are temple leaders, and they were kind of doing double duties. But in that organization, I had so many mentors, and I learned so much about Honganji and why that it was structured the way it is, and like why things work the way they are, the politics of it. This organization does a lot of service and of course leadership. So I I was a sponge and absorbed as much as I could. And a few years later, they supported me in running for president. So I was very grateful for that opportunity, and that was a couple years before we shut down our BWA. And I think like my experiences, with BWA and Junior YB and all these, and Temple has really helped me to be this person that I am now. I still don't like public speaking, but I feel more confident that I can lead in different ways, whether it's at my school or in my organization, Kiwanis, or at the different levels of Honganji or within the community also. So for that, I'm grateful. And of course, it won't be a Joy Talk without cats. I know you're waiting for the cats. I actually made extra slides, but I don't know if I'll get to it. So, we're talking about gratitude, right? And so, of course, I'm super grateful. My cats give me hours and hours of entertainment. My bougie cat now has webcams. So, yes, we do log in and kind of talk to her and see how she's doing. She also has an automatic feeder now, mostly because we traveled, that's why. So, cats, just like any pets, right? Unconditional love. Right, so much they just spread happiness just by being themselves. And I know I've talked a lot about Nori in the past, but I wanted to share about a couple other cats that I don't talk too much about. And so the first one is this cat named Brownie. And so my relatives will remember Brownie, this super chill orange cat, fat in his prime. You can tell how chill he is because he let me dress him up. And this is only some of the pictures I have. That I could find. And so I've got like Puss in Boots and UH quarterback. And so my sister, when I went away to college, my sister adopted him, which is why he's not crazy. That's my theory. I tend to be one of those like hug and squeeze to death kind of owners. And so this cat's very loving and affectionate. He would sit on people's laps. He was just that type of cat. And when he died in 2013, we really wondered if we'd ever get another cat I just was convinced I would never get a cat like him, and there was a lot of sadness, and it's kind of like this void, you think, is that void ever going to be filled? So I tried, right? 3 cats later, but all the cats are, as you know, pets are so different, right? Same upbringing, so different personalities. And so 3 cats later, of course, it's Nori, because I have endless pictures of her that I always want to share with you guys. And while she'll never completely fill that void that Brownie left. She's made new spaces in my heart. And that's like a realization that, you make, I think, as you grow up and you realize you don't replace, the sadness from before with happiness. You just make new happiness, right? New memories. And so and I just picked all these pictures of her sitting in stuff because she likes this. She's a hot pot and box and 9x13 baking pan and what is that called? Oh, a window hammock and a trash can. Yeah. And then and I'm really, as you know, I'm grateful for Nori. She's my little baby. Every morning when I get dressed, she's sitting there on the counter staring at us in the mirror. Like, I don't know if she's talking to me, but I feel like she's keeping me company as I get ready every morning, so grateful. So, Nori, I appreciate both Brownie and Nori. The second cat I wanted to share with you is this black and white tuxedo up here. So her name is Frisky. She lived 22 years, quite a long life for a cat. I think I got her about 96 when I was a freshman. I wasn't a very good owner. I think my mom had to really pick up the slack on my part. I was a pretty irresponsible teenager at that point. But when my dad died, after my dad died in 2003, she started to sleep with my mom pretty consistently. And you can kind of think like, maybe that's like dad, right, in some sense, through Frisky. But so for many, many years, that was my mom's bed buddy, as we called her. And she got frail and old. And when she died, we were worried. I don't know, Mom doesn't talk a lot about it, but we were kind of worried that she'd have no companion. How's Mom going to feel? Now she's going to be lonely. What are we going to do? So my sister adopted this one brain cell cat named Tobiko. Sorry, all the young ones know what I mean by one brain cell. And he is the weirdest, cutest cat ever. So talkative. He wants to come in the front door, walk through the house, and go back out the garage door because he gets fed out there. But he has to walk through the house to do that. So at first, doesn't want to be held, not a lap cat. Not quite what we thought. We wanted to give Mom a new companion. Well, it's been about 2 or 3 years now, and all of a sudden, he is now her lap buddy. So she sits on the couch. She's not happy that I shared this picture, and it's going to be on the internet. So now she sits on the couch, and boom, he's there, and you can't quite. It's far away, but he's got this face, this contentment on his face, and then that's it. Mom can't move for the rest of the day, right? So we're happy, and I hope my mom is also happy now that she's got a buddy, at least while she's on the couch watching TV. So thanks to my cats, I'm learning about my struggle with non-attachment and opening my mind and heart to other happiness, right? There's so much happiness out there. Even though their lives are so much shorter than ours, like a pebble thrown into a pond, their impact in my and our lives are at this very moment is going to continue to impact me throughout the rest of my life, just as the ripples in the water keep going on and on and on. My experiences that I shared earlier so far, they've molded me to be this person standing before you and the person that will continue to be up here in the future. So for that and for all of you here and in the internet, Ethernet verse, I'm truly grateful for all of you and your support. So in conclusion, when somebody asks you, how are you? Oh, that was supposed to be taken out. When somebody asks you, how are you? May I suggest taking a moment to reflect on these questions. How are you today? How were you yesterday? And how will you be tomorrow? The answer to these questions will help you reflect and appreciate those in your life, past, present, and future. So please join me in Gassho. Remembrance is a time to reflect and show our gratitude for not only those who have passed, but also those who are still living and impacting our lives. Let us remember to say thank you to those important people in your lives today, just in case today is your last day. Let us see the joy in each unrepeatable moment and say Namo Amida Butsu in gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Joy, for that uplifting Dharma talk. So how are you? Right now, right now. Okay, think about it. Okay. Please rise and turn to your brown service book, page 92, for Gatha, Listen to His Voice. Please remain standing for the Nembutsu, found in the same brown service book on page 107.
Of gratitude for the many gifts we have received. And a boundless and supreme light of wisdom shine within our hearts and minds and guide us to follow the path of infinite compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.
Please be seated. So this concludes our service for this morning. We will now have announcements by our President, Dennis.
Good morning, everyone. That was a very nice message, Joy. You know, about saying to someone, how are you? You have to remember, as you're passing each other, that might be the last time you see that person. So really, you need to spend the time and not just say, how are you? How were you yesterday? How were you tomorrow? You know, that kind of thing. Talk a little bit before you pass each other. It reminds me of the just Japanese term or expression, ichigo ichie, one moment, one encounter. So that one moment, every moment that you encounter your friend or whoever, if you don't cherish that moment, spend the time to really chat, you may lose that opportunity. Thank you, Joy. I need to call on Merle right away because she has to go take care of refreshments. She has an announcement to make.
Thank you, and thank you, Joy, because I was laughing. I was saying, if Joy was crawling under the pews, I hope you all understand what Jet's crawling on the floor around here. Okay, all of you know that this year we are having a bone dance, and that is on July 8th. So although this is really early, the newsletter is coming out in a couple of weeks, and that will include announcements of all the different dates and times of when things are happening and all the needs that we're going to have for volunteers. But to start it off, we have our donation list for the concession. So I have the list ready today, and I'll start passing it around. We'll have it in the refreshment area. So if you want the first crack at what you want to bring first, then please sign up for this, because although this is really early, we want to get people's commitments. And as a newsletter goes out, people will be calling me saying, I want to donate what is still available. So we are going to begin that process. It's a little early, but we're beginning the process already in May. And I hope that you'll all join us, and I hope that you're ready, because we're going to be asking for assistance, whether it be prepping or working in the booth. And for some of you, this is the first year you're going to even be available to help us in the booth because we haven't had Bon Dance for how many years. But it's exciting, and it's an experience that I'm sure you'll enjoy. So when we call for volunteers, I hope you have your hand up and say, yes, I want to be there and I want to help. Thank you.
Yeah, Bon Dance should be a lot of fun. Thank you, Reverend Bert, for leading our service today. Thank you, Joy, again. Thank you, Cynthia, for being our MC. Bob, for being our greeter. And Jennifer, for ringing the kansho. And Ryan, our videographer, camera person, everything person. Thank you. I don't think we have any guests today. Last week we ended our food drive to benefit the Hawaii Food Bank. So I delivered all the items to the food bank, and it totaled 144 pounds. And we also have $25 in cash donation. Thanks to everyone who did donate. We'll be doing another food drive later in the year. Yesterday, I kind of messed up. Yesterday was Earth Day, and I should have been prepared. But that was a time for everybody to remember our good Earth, our precious Earth, and to take care of it. So I plan to do something belated. So I'm targeting May 20th, like we did last year. We'll do cleanup along Kule Road, just like last year. So we'll have a further announcement, and I'll have a sign-up sheet for volunteers. Any other announcements? Okay, otherwise, let's get ready for refreshments. Words of Thanksgiving can be found on page 126 of the Red Service Book. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddhist compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namu Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you.